Ah, death don't have no mercy in this land. Death don't have no mercy in this land. He'll come to your house, he won't stay long. Wake up and find your mother's gone. No, death don't have no mercy in this land. Ah, death don't take a vacation in this land. Death don't take no vacations in this land. He'll come to your house, he won't stay long. Wake up and find your whole damn family's gone. Ah, death don't take no vacations in this land.
This is the first one. You're supposed to make a mini one, aren't you, on the first one? Do you want sugar on or syrup?
Syrup.
You got to walk that lonesome valley. You got to walk it for yourself. Nobody else can walk it for you. You got to walk, where is it? Walk that valley for yourself. Oh, Jesus had to walk that lonesome valley. He had to walk. Oh, I can't do it. That's too hard. But he's got massive hands and he just like scoops around like doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. And I'm like, they're watching it like, that's so frustrating.
I thought that was going at Dad. Oh yes!
There you go, a newborn lamb there. Look, absolutely newborn. Mum's still covered in blood. See it just standing up. Been quite late actually, the lambs have, haven't they? Yeah, yeah. Literally, it's kind of what's happening. I was in this lovely warm environment, and then I'm here.
Pretty normal on the outside. I have been through the wildest of days in so many ways. I feel fairly average on the inside. I sneak around, but I don't make a sound. No, I won't make a sound.
Oh, look. Born today. Oh, she loves that, doesn't she? Particularly fox poo. That's the one, that's a delicacy. This is Mikey and Natasha's place down here, and they're growing all kinds of vegetables and. This is our neighbours for the last, well, since January, isn't it?
Yeah.
Since January, and they're just incredibly fascinating people. So this is Mikey and Natasha. Mikey's the guy that was playing the guitar earlier on the video as well, so, and the fiddle as well. So I just thought you might find it interesting to see the project that they're doing. So it's down to you two guys.
Hello. So we have been here since January. We were living in London before that for like, what, 6 years?
Well, I was there for 12 years. You were there for 6, I think.
Yeah, and basically we were renting an apartment in West London, just like working and paying like an extortionate amount of rent. And then we just got to a point last year where I was like, what are we doing? Like, we're not even able to save up for a deposit for a house. Like, we're just, all the money we make, we're spending on rent and food and stuff. And it's just so expensive to live in London. And then, so then we had a plan to basically get out of London. We didn't know exactly what we were going to do. We just thought, if we get out of London, we can then like hopefully save some money to get a deposit. So we had like started planning it, and then COVID hit. So it kind of made us be like, okay, now is the time to get out, because now we're just paying rent and we can't even enjoy London anymore. So it was like pointless. So then we basically packed up all of our stuff. We moved down to Sussex and we built a cabin in my parents' back garden. So we spent all of last summer building the cabin, which was really, it was really an interesting experience. It was hard work, but we basically learned the basics of building a house or like a room out of wood, which was really like a knowledgeable experience. And then basically it didn't work out. We couldn't live there anymore. It just didn't work out. And so then we were like, had to move ASAP, and it was winter and it was cold and we had like,
Yeah, it was November?
it was in November. We had literally just finished building this cabin and we were just like,
we were like, just sat back like, finished.
Great.
12 hours a day, the whole summer. And I was like, right, now it's all finished.
Yeah.
Let's go. And then we
yeah.
left.
So then we were like, oh gosh, like we don't want to, we've done all of this. We've spent all this money on building this cabin. And then now we need to go back to renting. Like that would just, the whole thing would have been a waste.
Mean, we still, hilariously, after doing the whole thing, we still saved money that we would have spent more just living in London. But it was actually less money to build an entire cabin in a backyard.
Amazing.
But
So then basically we were like, okay, we need to get out ASAP. What can we do? So we were like thinking, can we buy some land? Can we go live on some land? Like,
yeah, but we're thinking about buying a static caravan and trying to find somewhere. I know my family were going to move into a bigger. They just live in a pretty normal sized suburban house, but they're gonna move to a farm up in the hills somewhere. So I was like, oh, have they got a farm there yet? Can we like live there? And then there's a farm that my sister worked on, and she was like, oh, well, maybe you could live on the farm. We could buy you a caravan. And you could maybe just like live in a caravan. So we're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe we'll just buy a caravan, live on this farm, just see how it goes. And then I was like, well, I've only just got a driving license that same year. Getting a trailer license to drive a caravan. Because most people that drive caravans get grandfather's rights, so they basically don't need any, like most people on the roads who are older don't need any kind of training in anything. So they just gave them licenses. Whereas
so basically
for me,
get that.
they were like, I had to do this whole course with this caravan, and I was like, I don't want to live in a caravan, which is small, and not actually be able to enjoy the fact that it's portable. Yeah. So we're like, right, we're going to buy a camper van. Yeah.
We had a little bit of money saved up, so luckily.
Yeah, we already had some savings, which was like the beginning of the deposit part for our house.
So we used all our deposit money just to buy a camper. Yeah. We didn't really know much about camper living. We'd never lived like that before. We lived in the cabin for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite luxurious because we were living in a cabin with no running water, sharing a kitchen and a bathroom and everything. And then suddenly we had a camper van, which was like, we had our own kitchen for the first time ever.
And what's it called, Mikey?
The camper van?
Yeah.
I can't remember. What did we call it? There was 2 names.
Yeah, we forgot. Our car is called Sharon.
Our car's-
I'm thinking of Sharon. the
Our
car.
car's called Sharon.
The car's called Sharon.
But we thought about
Do you wanna show
Karen,
us the
but
car?
Karen's a bit loaded now. You can't say Karen anymore because there's a very specific meaning now on the internet. So it needs to be something else. You thought of a great name for it, but we've
It was
forgotten
like
it now.
Trudy or
Oh,
something.
it's a great van though. I can remember the day they turned up in this van. It's like
An old Mercedes.
Yeah, it was so
Come on,
funny.
show us around then. Show us what
So basically we kind of
Mikey, here. Don't you touch the top there.
we parked up in this spot that I'll show. Well, let's start at the camper van.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there. You coming, Tash?
Yeah.
These are Jesse's best friends as well, by the way.
Yeah,
Like, you know.
the babysitters.
So Mikey's you're a music teacher as well, aren't you?
Yeah, so since all the COVID stuff, I've just been teaching kids violin and guitar and banjo over Skype.
Yeah.
So up there is where we used to be, just on the normal campsite.
Yeah.
And then we came down here, and this building, my family had owned this because my sister was using it for her business, but with COVID and she's got a baby on the way, she just wasn't able to use it. And because I do music and Tash has a clothing business, we basically, to do this long term, we needed another building, like a studio building. So for us, this wouldn't really be as possible business-wise, unless we had that building. Just because Tash has so much stock as well and things that we're selling, and I have all my recording equipment. So it's sort of, we need a space. So this luckily was here. So now we've parked our motorhome next to it, which is
Trying to grow all our own vegetables.
yeah. So we've got
It's all in progress, so it's a bit messy, but
so this is like a 1986 Mercedes T1 van that then the kind of Auto Trail did the whole conversion.
Yeah.
And it's kind of great. It's got a,
Totally original inside, isn't it?
yeah, totally original. Loads of carpet everywhere. It's great.
I was thinking, because we're up between the 2 trees, I was thinking in winter we've got the perfect place for the setting of the sun, but the sun's just moved round and round and round now.
And now we're
sun is
living the
setting
dream.
perfectly.
We're going to put a table and chairs. So yeah, so we had the camper next to this porta cabin basically.
Yeah.
We're going to paint it all and stuff. And then with this, we obviously had to fence off because of the horses, because we're sharing the rent of the paddock.
Yeah.
So this is fenced off. You can see the line where the horses have eaten it.
Yeah.
And we're basically able, because it wasn't realistic to fence the motorhome in. We just have this space, and we're pretty obsessed with growing vegetables now.
Oh, yeah.
So all this wood I've salvaged from the burn pile after the tree surgeons have sort of used the stuff that they can use. And I'm currently doing this thing called hugel culture, where you bury logs and sticks and stuff underground and it rots down, and it's really good for your vegetables. This here is a bit underwhelming, but this is actually a huge trench that I filled with wood.
Oh, yeah.
More wood than on the right,
Yeah.
but now you can't see, but you can see the huge piles of earth.
Yeah.
These ones here are just going to be mounds. I'm going to do more mounds down the end, which is kind of the more traditional way of doing it.
Yeah.
But for cabbages, there's not much use because they might fall off.
Fantastic.
And we put this path in as well, wood chip path, because when it's really rainy, it's obviously,
like a mud bath.
yeah, it's like the Battle of the Somme. So then,
Polytunnel here coming up.
yeah,
isn't there?
so I got this off a good friend of mine, which there's so many things about this place that have worked out so perfectly. It's just the perfect size, which is wild. And I've got the plastic now, which is in that box. So I'm busily leveling it all off, and I'm going to be digging some trenches to bury the plastic. And yeah, we'll have
Basically, have about 6,000 tomato plants that we need to
yeah,
plant.
we have so many.
Look at this here. This is
Yeah, so we've got potatoes,
perfect, isn't it?
kale, and in this bed here we're going to do the Three Sisters, which is basically, it's like an ancient native Indian way of growing, where you grow corn in the middle, and then you grow beans that climb up the corn stalks, so you don't need to cane the beans, and then all around the edge you basically plant squash and pumpkins, and they basically act as a shade to the beans, and they all help each other in some way, so we're doing that basically. We're gonna
So much thought gone into it.
yeah.
You guys have really gone into this stuff, haven't you? Like massively gone into it.
Yeah, well, we just kind of really want to try and, I mean, we try and eat like organic fruit and veg as much as possible. The only annoying thing is it's so expensive, and it's all covered in so much plastic when you buy it in the supermarket. So we just kind of, luckily we've got this little bit of land, and we thought, you know, if we can grow most of our own fruit and veg organically and without like pesticides and chemicals.
And
And
Jess, come here.
she's fine.
She knows that we'll throw the stick for her every time.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, so we're just really excited, and we're like learning as we go. We're this is our first year of growing, so it's, you know, we're making mistakes, but we're learning from them. And yeah, we're just really enjoying it. It's really fun.
Can we show you the next bit? So this was basically an old door that I got for free. Facebook Marketplace is the greatest thing known to man. There's so many people that just give stuff away for free. So then out of loads of scrap wood I found and pallets, I just built a cold frame around it. This was perfect when we were hardening off our seeds. We had most of the seeds in the porta cabin. And then we put them in here first, keeps the frost off, and then they went out after that. So it's kind of a halfway. It's like a mini greenhouse, really.
Fabulous.
Um,
And you've been doing all this while the weather was like,
Oh
it
my
rained
God.
for weeks.
well, you can see here we had to dig a channel
Yeah.
because the whole thing was just flooding. But we're quite lucky. We have all these trees behind us, like a natural barrier, and they just absorb and everything drains away, and it's kind of perfect. This is a grapevine I got from down the road.
How beautiful.
Someone was getting rid of it, so me and my friend got one each.
So good.
Had to dig that out. And then this is a potato tower.
Potatoes, yeah.
So that's just straw and soil in there, and then I just layered potatoes. We're so lucky to have an elder tree.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have elderflower cordial.
Best.
Let a load of them go to berries, and
Just so happens to be there, you know.
it's like perfect. And then this hawthorn seems to have heard our prayers, because we kind of planted the salad in this bed without really thinking about it, and it needed to be a bit more shaded.
Yeah.
And then the hawthorn kind of grew over it just to help us
Amazing.
out, and it's
Beautiful.
shaded it. So this is all of our salad. And these things as well, I've done the hugel culture where I've buried wood
Yeah.
about halfway down. It also means I don't need like a ton of soil.
That's it, because it retains the moisture, doesn't it?
Yeah, it holds moisture like a sponge, and then it also feeds the plants. So all of these are like that, but I made all of these from pallets and scrap wood. This was all just gravel.
Yeah, because Mikey was going up to like the scrap part and just getting pallet after pallet and
Yeah,
making up all these flower beds.
just a dirty hippie on a pile of wood.
So good, and this is the fire pit for the fellowship, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're all around there all the time, playing music,
But
singing.
I just think this place here is just. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
so this was the one thing that
And
was.
look at the wheat fields, folks.
Yeah, that's all going to be golden.
Oh man, I tell
And then this is our whole compost system we have going
you.
here.
Yeah.
And then yeah, this wooden
And
structure
then
was here
there's Shrek's
before.
toilet there.
Yeah, we need the little
Just
moon on the
needs that
door.
little moon on, doesn't it?
That's where
I'd
Mikey
say.
sleeps.
Yeah, all that was here was that compost toilet and this wooden
Yeah,
structure,
Yeah.
which
yeah.
is kind of made into our living
Yeah,
room.
it didn't look anything like that, did it?
No.
When it first came, it's like,
I mean, it's like, and we built a straw wall as well.
yeah, that's made a big difference.
Yeah, so when it's windy, it's great. But obviously for us, camper life is obviously incredible. But because we've been doing so much in the garden, we've been in one place for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it's only really when you're in one place that you start to notice the size of it.
Yeah.
You notice how small it is. So having more space is quite good. I think when you're on the move, you don't really notice it so much.
No.
So for us, it's been kind of perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
So we kind of, yeah, this is our
It's just
entertaining space.
inspirational. And I know, you know, there's lots of preppers about at the moment, and people kind of trying to figure out a way forwards in COVID and all that, and people that can't afford deposits and all kinds of things. And
Yeah.
you know, we're kind of in a similar position to you guys, and really none of us we don't know what the future holds as such, do we? But
No.
it's a great way to save up, isn't it?
It's amazing. And I think there's a lot of places, so by law you can live on farms as long as you're working. So we obviously work for the farm, and we trade our labour for our pitch.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a great way of doing it, because
Yeah.
they always need the help.
Yeah.
So if you did want to find a more permanent space, the thing I'd say is look for a farm
Yeah,
and
yeah.
say, can I,
Do some work.
can I work for you and keep my camper on the
Yeah,
property,
yeah.
and then and you're going to see how long you could do that for.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of good for us because we've got this as our kind of base camp, and then we
Right.
can just drive off and
Yeah.
and travel around when we fancy it.
Yeah, so I think neither you guys nor us would ever have planned something like this. But
No,
it's turned out to be
it's
one
wild.
of those things that you're going to look back in years to come and think, do you know what, that was one of the highlights of our life. I'm convinced that
Yeah,
that'll happen. You look back and think, wow, what a time.
it's wild. Like, I mean, like literally just a year ago, we were living in London.
Yeah,
I remember the March last year. I was thinking about this. We're just in lockdown in a flat in Acton,
yeah, yeah.
and I was like, "Ooh, this is."
I can
miserable."
remember the first time I saw you, because he's very, very friendly, Mikey, isn't he? You know, and he comes up to the our Hymer and he's going on about Mercedes Hymers and all this kind of stuff. Who is this guy? Like,
With his pink scarf.
with his pink scarf on, yeah. And it's really weird seeing this transformation of somebody that's come from a city
And very fat.
to a full,
Way
yeah,
fat.
he was a bit podgy
Real
than that,
fat.
to a full-on grafter on a farm.
I know. I've got like a tan and some definition now.
Well, we've come to the end of May, almost. We've been here since the day we came here was Halloween. And they announced another lockdown on the same day. So we've been here for about 7 months. It's just been such an amazing time. Like, we're on a farm. Over there, there's wheat fields. And when we came here, it just looked like grass that was about that high in rows that were kind of about that far apart. And now you look at the wheat fields and it's just all coming up together. They've got about 2.5 months, I think, before harvest. Then over that way you've got this guy that comes and fells loads of logs, and you watch him turn the logs into chopping wood and putting them into these big cube kind of baskets and sending them off to be kiln dried. Then you've got goats, sheep, horses over here. What those other things are called? Can't think what they're called now. Kind of like a small llama. And really for the winter time it's just been us and Mikey and Natasha. But now obviously we're coming into season. We're getting different people coming on. Every week you've got people coming on. This week we've got a bunch of older people that love I'd say about a half of them or a third of them are musicians, and they're really good musicians, and they're just over there now chilling out with a mandolin, couple of guitars, that drum, I can't remember what it's called, the drum that you kind of go like that with. Well, Mikey's a big Celtic fiddle player, so I'm hoping he's going to be up later on and do a bit of jamming with him. But it's been amazing, and the reason why we came here initially was to get out of renting and to start to save up. And we just thought, you know what, we love living in a camper van, so why not just live in one and use it as a way of saving up. But I don't think we ever really figured into the equation that we would discover a way of life that's so kind of pure and raw, and you really do feel very much in connection with the seasons and the weather. Like you go down for a shower, we don't tend to shower in the van, so we go down into the farm.
So you've got to walk in the middle of the night, freezing cold in winter and all that. Sometimes the pipes are frozen up in winter, and we've watched the seasons changed. When we came here, the leaves were falling off these 2 oak trees, and now, and of course they were stripped bare, and now just about coming into full foliage again. We've got squirrels that run around here. They actually chewed through a sensor on the car, which cost us 300 quid. We've got a male and female pair of pheasants that come around here and even eat from Jesse's bowl. It's like they've been with us since winter. Well, the male has been with us since winter. And then we've got Jack, the Shire horse, that comes up here for a carrot. And Robin and Alfie, there's 3 horses. But I wouldn't have swapped it for anything. It's been amazing, and it's kind of now, the only thing I'm anxious about is we just love to stay here. We don't, you know, if we could do this for the rest of our lives, I think we'd be very happy.
Right, this is the first time up here in the Hymer, and it took a lot longer, didn't it? It's 65, this is the sweet spot on this. It'll do 75, but 65 is the sweet spot. Well, it's finally the longest day of the year, and what a time it's been. We came here on October the 31st, Halloween. Boris Johnson put the nation into lockdown very, very quickly, and we've spent
pretty much all of this time here in one form of lockdown or the other, but it's been a time of incredible surprises and coincidences. The entire thing has, and you know, life is full of surprises. Good ones, bad ones, some of them horrific, some of them just, you know, beyond anything that you could comprehend would ever happen to you in life. But life is full of surprises. You know, as a kid, I had no ambition to get a particular job at school or anything like that. I ended up becoming an electrician. I never thought in a million years I'd be trained as an electrician. I can remember as an apprentice electrician thinking an awful lot about the meaning of life and what is life about? Like, why? What is all this about? What's the meaning? Where did everything come from? I can remember thinking all those things, but never in my life did I think I would become a Christian. But at the age of 24, I became a Christian. 2 years later, I met my wife. Never in a million years did I think I'd meet somebody like Mandy. I can remember taking out for a meal in Buxton, an Italian restaurant in Buxton, and she looked at me and she said, "You're going to be my husband." And I looked at her and thought, what? And I think in less than a year, we were married. I never thought I'd marry somebody that basically come from Jamaica. Never. But that's life. Life throws up some incredible surprises. I certainly never thought I would be a minister, in a church. Never did I think that would happen to me. I was a bit of a rebel. Never did I think that would happen to me. But Mandy and myself have been leading churches now for 20 odd years. Unbelievable. And never did I think about ill health. You know, when you grow up, you don't think about ill health, do you? But just over a year ago, I was rushed into hospital, and it was for me, it was life-changing. It was absolutely life-changing to realise what could have happened to me, what didn't happen, but what it did for me is it made me realise how utterly precious life is and how you just can't take life for granted, not even a day. And during the whole lockdown thing, I started to self-isolate in our other camper van because I was so ill and I'd got no immune system. And it's that ultimately led us to the idea, why don't we actually live in a camper van? You know, let's give it a go. And I know there's a stigma attached to these things, and I think that puts quite a lot of people off. But once you get past that stigma, it's an incredible thing. It's been an amazing journey. We got here and they put us into lockdown within no time. And so I had to lock down our own church, which meant that the church wasn't open. But this church behind here, Asprey Church, opened for an hour of prayer on a Sunday. With it being such a big building, they could kind of self-isolate easy. So I said to Mandy one really dark and dismal November day, "Man, I'm going to go and have a 20-minute time of prayer in the church here." So I went along, and as I'm going along, I'm thinking, this is not the kind of church I go into. It's high church, very religious. You know, I don't go with all the fancy dresses and dog collars and things that people wear. It's not for me at all. It's not the way I see Jesus. Jesus was a tradesman. He was a workman. He was a very approachable man. He didn't elevate himself above anybody else. He was a good man that loved people. And so I don't kind of associate myself with churches like that, but I went in for some private prayer and walked in there. I think there was about 3 people in there. And the church warden came up to me. I chose to sit way away from everybody else, 10 metres or maybe more away from everybody else. And the church warden came up to me and said, "You can't sit there." I said, "Oh, right, where do you want me to sit?" "There, the very pew next to it." I thought, this guy's having a laugh, like one pew back when I'm 10 metres away from all the others. And I thought, oh, what am I doing in here? I sat there praying in this dark and dismal church, this church here. Little did I know that there was a lad in there who at the start of lockdown was a total atheist. He'd read a lot of books by Richard Dawkins. He'd studied cosmology. He had come up with the conclusion that everything came from nothing, and that the answer to every single thing in this life could be explained by science. And then when COVID hit and the world was turned upside down, he went into a bookshop just looking for another book, and he happened across a very old Bible. He says he wasn't really interested in the Bible as such, he just liked the look of it. But he took it home and he started to read the book of Genesis, which is all about the beginnings, how everything came into being. And then he moved on to the book of John. And then he tried a church not that far from here, but then the whole thing went into lockdown. He decides to come to this church here, never been before. He just decides one Sunday, I know, Asby Church is open, I'll go there. So little did I know that there was a guy in there who had been an atheist all of his life, that had convinced himself totally that there is no God, there's no need for God, science explains everything. And that one time that I went in there, I sat there thinking, what am I doing in here? Because the church warden was quite rude to me. Anyway, I went out and I thought, well, maybe there is a reason why I'm here. So I stood outside of the church and I watched one person come out, sort of said hello. Another person came out, kind of said hello, and then I saw this young man come out. Little did I know that he went on his knees in that church. This is somebody that knows nothing about God. He went down on his knees in that church. This is a guy that was convinced that there is nothing in this life apart from science that explains everything. And he prayed. And he says, as he was down on his knees praying, I walked in, and he could hear me being told off by this warden for sitting in the wrong place. Anyway, the end of the thing, I see this guy walk out and I feel compelled to ask him if he's a member here. And he says, no, he's come in, he's kind of searching. I said, are you a Christian? And he didn't really know how to answer that. So I said to him, have you accepted Jesus as your personal saviour? And he says, no, I don't think I have. And would you believe it? Basically what happens with this guy, he asked to go out on a walk with me. I told him where we were in this camper van. He got hold of me. He says, I'd really want to go on a walk with you. And within a week, young Jordan, 22 I think he is, 23 years of age, had found the Lord as his personal saviour.
Wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world alone, there'll be no sickness, toil, nor danger in that fair land to which I go. I'm going home to see my mother. I'm going home, no more to roam. I am just going over Jordan. I am just going over home. I know dark clouds will hover o'er me. I know my pathway is rough and steep, but golden fields lie out before me, where tender eyes no more will weep. I'm going home to see my Savior. I'm going home, no more to roam. I am just going over Jordan. I am just going over home.